We'll be discussing the current tragedy going on in the world, which is the United Snakes of Israel versus all peace-loving nations. And we'll be digging into the propaganda and also the nature of the technology that's controlling you and I. These topics for me are always quite heavy, so it is an emotional lift, especially if you really know what's going on, if you've been on the ground in these places, and I have. Do forgive me for being here at this time. We ordered our groceries and the woman was not only very late, but she also came in the wrong entrance to the property. And then when she got here, she unloaded the groceries, and then when we brought them in, she realized she needed to scan all the bags. So then we needed to locate the bags and bring them all out so she could scan them. And then she drove through my grass to get to the exit. So that's just the unfortunate reality of some people are less intellectually capable. And frankly, we need to stop producing those people. I encourage all of you who are actually good people, which is the minority among you, to procreate in good numbers. And we're in really desperate times. All of the good people must procreate in high numbers. If you're actually a good woman, and most of you are not, but if you're actually a good woman, you'd be wise to find a qualified man and join his family and produce children. It's for the good of the world. Before I got on, there were some mentally ill males. And mind you, to be evil, some people are willfully evil. They may be intelligent and evil. That's nasty. Most of them are in our government. And then you have those who are evil because they're unintelligent. Their IQ is so low that they can't help but do evil. Some folks saying, hey, you're late. And I ask them, are you a member? And then all of a sudden they don't respond. It's because they're not members. And we know that they're evil because just imagine the person who's paying nothing, the person I would never encounter in real life because we're in such radically different classes. They should be thankful, yet they've given $0, but they feel as though they're owed something. Whereas you have people who are actually members, been members for years, and they're understanding. My life is not like yours. It is a chore to talk about these topics because I've actually been to these places. I've been to places where there's ongoing warfare, not just when YouTube started. I donate money to these places. I have friends in these places. And I also have a real life that's rich with good things and rich with business. And so these mentally ill trolls, we know that they're evil because they won't leave, you see. If you don't like the timing of the channel or you don't like the host of the channel, someone who is mentally well would just go find a channel that they enjoy. But you have a lot of persons who are devils, Neanderthals, most of them, and they stay and they create havoc because that's what wicked people do. They create havoc. So in as much as that's the case, at any point during this live stream, I may stop it and then resume on the member-only website. So if you're not a member, I advise you to become a member. So we shall see. Anyways, as we go through, if you have any comments, questions, or you'd like to support intelligent analysis, you can use the information. I don't even think there's any information in the description of the video. It's been such a busy day. You can use the information right there, and we'll go from there. Carrying on. So we're going to look at a couple sources. And the first one I want to look at is a repeated statement from Donald Trump. And there was earlier someone on my Instagram, white guy, and he seemed to take issue with something that I said. He follows me. He's been following me for quite some time, it appears. And he took issue on the public comments, and then he DMs me, and I said, would you like to discuss on live stream? At which point he's like, no, I don't. Well, of course you don't. You see, the devils, they know that their lies will be exposed, but they'll never abandon their lies. And they know that I'm the guy to do it. And so they babble in the public comments, but they won't come on and address me because rightfully they have fear, and they should. The reason I bring him up when I bring up Donald Trump is because he's a lying devil. Donald Trump has said that he'll basically eradicate the civilization that we today called Iran, a civilization that has a long history. I did a separate lecture on the history of the Persian Empire and how they went from the Persian Empire to the Iran we know today. And frankly, the idea of wiping any civilization off of the map is evil. It reeks of evil. What you're saying is that you're going to commit war crimes, you're going to commit crimes against humanity, you're exterminating man, woman, and child. The idea that any leader could say such things aloud and remain in office lets you know that we are within a wicked nation, truly evil. If you live within the United Snakes of Israel, whether it's the American colony or the Israeli headquarters, you are in the belly of the beast. And if you do not feel uncomfortable with that every single day, you are numb or you are uninformed. So anyways, we'll start with that. This Donald Trump fellow is completely incompetent, and he is a representation of a society with declining IQ. And I do believe in positive eugenics. I do believe that genetics matter. And we see that a lot of the white guys in power today are DEI hires. They're not there because of merit. Pete Hegseth, or shall we say Keg Breath, is one example, an alcoholic. And as a result of having these incompetent individuals in power, our country suffers. Donald Trump already said that he was going to eradicate Iran as a civilization, didn't do it. Of course, when you make this kind of bluster and you don't deliver, your words mean less. It's the basics. We have a lot of white men who are competent in America, but those are not the ones in power. And in part, that's because the American populace is so degenerate. There's undoubtedly been a dysgenic impact on our society. And I hope that you all will join me in doing something about it. But anyways, let's get to this with Donald Trump basically threatening to commit atrocities, and apparently everyone's cool with it.
There was always a built-in fragility to this ceasefire, the cracks now becoming ever more apparent. Iran this morning launching...
First off, there was never a ceasefire. A ceasefire means that the two parties have come to an agreement and then they've stopped fighting. They've not stopped fighting. They've continued striking on both sides. They've repositioned military assets, and they've continued going on. So what it reveals is that the media, the global media, at some level coordinates their propaganda messages. All of the elites are in cahoots with one another, whether we're talking about the media in India, the media controlling Africa, the media in the Middle East, the media in the United States. They're all coordinating their lies. Marquette, why do you say that? And by the way, I don't think RT is even on YouTube anymore, or Google. This was the Russian media outlet. Somebody let me know. But consistently you hear the news media referring to it as a ceasefire. How is it a ceasefire if missiles are still flying, if attack drones are still flying? The only reason they persist in calling it a ceasefire is because the Israeli, American-controlled mainstream media wants to tell that to the population. They want to manipulate markets and manipulate the citizenry. It's not been a ceasefire, and frankly, it can't be a ceasefire as long as Israel exists, in as much as Israel is a warring nation and will always be, and that's because they're pursuing the lands of others. And they will not stop that until they have taken the lands of Egypt, Lebanon, Syria, and a portion of Saudi Arabia, and of course, Palestine. And so they must engage in continuous war. We've already heard many within the Israeli government and outside of it claim that the next war may be with Turkey and Egypt. Now, frankly, Egypt is not a threat to anyone. The Israelis have already made short work of Egypt in the past, and Turkey, their leader, is a fraud, just as the leader of the United Arab Emirates is a fraud, and the leader of Saudi Arabia is a fraud, and the leader of Jordan is a fraud. And this is all well known throughout the Middle East. I've traveled consistently in the Middle East. In Jordan, the entire country, from a taxi driver to a school teacher, will tell you that it is controlled by the Central Intelligence Agency. the Hashemite kingdom, I think they call it. Forget what nonsensical name they have. And you can hear out of the Saudi leadership's mouth the most outrageous ideas. It shows that they're disconnected from their population. But frankly, Muslims, there are only one set of real Muslims on earth, and they're called Shia Muslims, and they're from Iran. There are various other groups scattered throughout the world, some in the Levant, some in Iraq. Everything else is a fraud, and I have no regrets about saying that. This stuff is just so very tragic, and yeah, let's get into it.
Strikes in response, it said, to US attacks hours earlier, saying it was targeting US military facilities in Kuwait and in Bahrain, where an apartment building was struck. Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps saying violations of the ceasefire by the US would lead to a suspension of the processes set out under the two countries' Memorandum of Understanding. Overnight, the US military released footage of its attacks. It set on 10 targets in Iran after Iran again struck a commercial vessel in the Strait of Hormuz.
Now, one thing you'll notice consistently, and I really don't think you guys understand how truly disturbed you should be about the world that you are living in. Number one, a gentleman says, yes, RT has been removed from the American market. So they're basically controlling the information that you can receive. That is the Israeli-American media empires. So they've removed Russian news so you don't get an alternative perspective. And in fact, you'll notice that if you Google Iran on YouTube, you'll consistently get Fox News as the leading search result. I know this to be true because I even click every time not interested, block channel, not interested, flag, and I still get Fox News at the top. I flagged every Fox News outlet there is. I despise Fox News. This is not to suggest that I like CNN or any of the liberal outlets. They are actually the same as Fox News. The media environment in America is so so controlled by the American propaganda machine that you're so, and the American population is so brainless that they think they have choice, and the choice is Democrat, Republican. But if I challenged anyone to name any other political philosophy, all you could think of is socialist or communist, but you couldn't name anything else. That's because you've not been taught. That's because our political system doesn't allow anything else. There is no alternative thinking. And every time you see someone who claims to be a socialist or a communist, which I don't support either of those, they're really lying. They're really just Democrats or Republicans. For example, Bernie Sanders. He's a Democrat. He says he's a socialist, but he's a Democrat. Mamdani says he's a socialist. He's just a Democrat. And you think that you have choices, but you have no choices. And because your intellectual environment and the political landscape is so limited, if you see someone talk about Marquettism, which is a philosophy, which is a way of a worldview, a framework, then you're like, oh, that's a cult. Well, that's because you're so narrow in your understanding that you don't know of any philosophies. You wouldn't even use that as a perspective to say, oh, it's a philosophy. Ism, Marquettism, that's not a religion, you fool. There are no religions that end in ism. There are philosophies that end in ism, Maoism, Leninism, Marxist-Leninism, communism, socialism. So there are political frameworks, ideologies, philosophies that are ending in ism. But because your brain is so brainwashed in a bad way, you would say cult because your understanding is so limited. And that's sad. And a part of that is because you do not have media. You don't have news media. You think Fox News and CNN are different, but they always report the same things. The only difference is Fox News uses a white guy to do it, and they periodically say some things that are racist and discriminatory. And then conversely, CNN will say things and they use like a white woman who dresses like a little boy and has an ugly haircut to say what they're going to say, and they act sympathetic to the people of color, when in actual fact they want the people of color to behave like them. And the only difference is whether they admit that they're sexual deviants. Both sides are sexual deviants. The conservatives have Scott Bessent. He's openly gay and he's in a gay marriage. How much of a Christian could you be? Pete Hegseth is an alcoholic. Donald Trump is 3 times divorced. And he's a felon who had intercourse with an adult film actress and then paid her off. How could they be conservative? The entire structure is degenerate. They're both sexual perverts, as indicated by the Epstein files. So the idea that you have choice as opposed to these people all being friends and being the same is completely fictitious. And as someone who has great connections and access to information, and someone who is a target of the American government and media infrastructure, I can feel the weight every single day. You guys don't find it funny that on Instagram I have 500,000 followers. On YouTube I've capped out at 250,000. And then on Twitter I have, I think 15.8 thousand. So 15.8 thousand. You don't think that's strange? It's by design. We're being throttled. Like, I'll give you an example. And I just want you to understand you're being controlled and you think you're free. The idea that any American would ever use the term freedom is just so utterly bizarre. It's embarrassing because you sound so foolish to ever claim that you are free. Look at this. Google, which owns YouTube. Let me ask you if this is weird. Okay, check this out. This is a video from a news organization called WeOn. They have 10.5 million subscribers. That's a lot, right? That's a lot. We can all agree. 10 million, 10.5 million. Mathematically, we round that up to 11 million, right? Because the 5 goes up. So that's 11 million subscribers. This was posted a day ago. A day ago. Yes? So at least 24 hours. It has 7,000 views. It has only 10 likes. Now, I'm not being a conspiracy theorist. I'm just pleading with you guys. I'm just pleading with you to use common sense. Just use common sense. Do you believe in your heart of hearts that it is possible to test to see if you're being controlled with propaganda? Do you believe that it's possible that 7,000 people watched that video and only 10 hit the like button? Only 10 people out of 7,000 liked that video. That's question 1. Here's question 2. If they have 11 million followers, 11 million subscribers, do you believe that only 7,000 people would have wanted to watch that video? Do you believe that? Out of 11 million, only 7,000 wanted to watch that video. Come on, guys. Come on. Like, this stuff doesn't make sense. The only thing that makes it make sense is when you see Israel in the title of the video and it says Hezbollah supporters. And then you think, oh, hang on. According to the propaganda, Hezbollah is supposed to be a small, radical group of evil people that nobody supports. So if you ever say Hezbollah supporters, then you're spreading information that's against United Snakes of Israel propaganda that lies and claims that Hezbollah is a marginal terrorist organization that nobody likes. So as soon as you put that in the title, your video is de-throttled so damn bad that even with 10 million or 11 million subscribers, no one watches it because they weren't served the video and it's hard to find. And even if people click the like button, YouTube won't register it. It'll only show 10 likes so that people are disincentivized from watching it. Come on, man. Come on. Like, you should be actually scared. This stuff is not conspiracy theory. This is basic common sense in mathematics. This is psychology 101. This is the basics in totalitarian propaganda. You should be scared. You should be scared for me. You should be scared for you. If not angry, you should be scared at the least. $11 million followers, 10 likes. Give me a break, man. And they're protesting against the trilateral deal. Well, they're basically protesting against the deal that Israel made with the puppet government that they control in Lebanon. So of course we don't want to, but Israel and the United Snakes of America do not want to hear about anyone protesting their agreement. Because when you see that the citizens of Lebanon are protesting, which is really brave when your country's being bombed, when you see that they're protesting in the streets, even though that makes them more of a target, you know that there is no level of support for this deal. Come on, man. Come on. And then you have people that are so petty as to ask silly questions in my live chat when there's so many bigger things going on in the world. There's so many bigger things, and these people have low IQ and they're joking, and they're like not even real men. They're not serious people. They're not serious people. And they're a part of the problem in this world that we're in. Anyway, shout out to Major Mind and Soul. He writes, the camera can't convey how large and beautiful that painting is in real life. Absolutely, it's very large. He writes, peace to the saints, I appreciate you. And again, it's just such a busy day, and I had to come to the front of the property to go back and forth with the lady who was delivering the groceries. And again, I don't have anything bad to say about her, but it's just that, unfortunately, she's intellectually limited, and that's why she made so many mistakes. And sometimes when you find that the world is Kafkaesque, it's because you have too high a number of people who are low IQ and or low EQ, and they're basically making the world more difficult than it has to be. And they don't even know it. They're messing up the world and they don't even know it. Just imagine, delivering groceries is such a extraordinarily simple job. You're a delivery person and you still make a mess of it. That's the world we're in. These are people who are allowed to vote. There's just no way things can go well in a society where you have people that are that brainless. And this is, of course, what you have in South Africa. Low IQ, widespread. Shout out to L. Brown supporting the work. I appreciate you. May I also acknowledge Mr. Nova. Writes, Mom Donnie is a Democrat and is very anti that one country. Well, that's what he says, but we'll see, right? We have to respect him for that. I'm actually surprised he won and is still breathing. Let's keep our eyes open. One thing I know is that the American political system is so corrupt. It is filled with people who are completely evil and selfish. I know I went into it, and you guys might think that I'm a regular imbecile YouTuber like the other people you watch, but I had a real life before YouTube and still now. Now, a lot of my political contacts don't want to admit that we know each other personally, but everyone you could name who's of consequence, you're talking about Mamdani, former mayor, I know personally, Mayor Bloomberg, also a billionaire, also well connected with that one place. We know each other on a first name basis. Many people who have run for office, whether they got in or didn't get in, I know them personally. And all of the, as you guys like to call it, receipts, which I think is a brainless way to term it, but all the receipts are publicly available. I think the reason we have all this odd internet language is because it's either from nerds or it's from people who did not get proper formal education, so they have bad diction, so they use odd ways to express things. But anyways, it's all documented, and I say that to say this. Anyone who can rise in the American political system either doesn't care about citizens, because if you did, you just go do the work, right? You just go do the work. Like me, for example, in Southeast Africa, I was made aware through some of my philanthropic activities some years ago that a lot of young people have respiratory issues, and there's fires and all kinds of mishaps because of the way people in rural Southeast Africa cook, the fires inside of dwellings. And so I was able to get with an organization, basically a nonprofit, international nonprofit, that provides cooktops, basically rechargeable electric cooktops that doesn't have the smoke inhalation that's going to impact the children of these people who are kind of semi-tribal, semi-rural or rural. And you just get after it, you solve the problem, you put some capital in place, you work with smart people, you work with people who are sincere and people who care, and you get the job done. What you don't do, see, what I didn't do is say, oh, I want to help people in Africa. I'm going to go start an NGO, or I'm going to join the United Nations, or I'm going to become get in the foreign service or become a diplomat. No, I didn't do that because that's vanity. That's also, I could say, oh, I'm a diplomat, I'm in the foreign service, or I'm, in this or that position. No, that's vanity. I just got with the people doing the work who are sincere and honest, and none of them are famous. None of them are people that are on CNN giving their opinions, and we did the work. No one goes into government to help people. People go into government so that they can be important, so they can be well known and well respected and have control, and honestly, it makes me sad. It almost makes me want to cry when I think about the kind of people who are in government, because I know them personally. Some of them are intelligent, most of them are not. Some of them are highly competent, most of them are not. But what's common is that they're all very selfish, bad people. And that includes Barack Obama. For you blacks watching, that includes Barack Obama. And for you blacks, you need the black code so you can understand the world, because some of you think you're thinking black, but you learned from low IQ blacks. You heard them repeat things and then you thought that was the right way. I'm sorry to tell you that the blacks are not currently well known for their intellectual prowess, so you've heard a lot of foolish things repeated. I am here to help. I'm here to help, folks. Anyways, carrying on. But with regards to the gentleman Nova, who I trust is well-intentioned, I say all that to say, Mamdani may have a different script for now, but let's watch the actions. Let's see what actually changes. I don't know what the demographics of people watching are. And for this person who's saying that they want to debate me, I think it's so sad that you're just so concerned with yourself right now. You're so concerned with you right now. This is not about you, but I tell you what, you want some clout, I'll give you some clout. When I finish the lecture, we'll make sure that you get a link. You can come on and debate whatever you want to debate. No problem. I just want you to know in advance, you're not a good person. Everyone here knows you're not a good person. It's okay. This is basically a lecture about how people in Iran, people in Kuwait, people in Bahrain, people in the Levant are losing their lives because of the evil Neanderthals that run our government. That's what we're talking about, something quite sad and serious, but you want some clout and attention, I will give you some. Just be a little bit more patient, please. But anyways, Nova, let's keep an eye on Mamdani. Let's see what he actually does. There's a television show that was on, it actually started, I think, the year after I was born. So I pretty much was watching reruns. It was a beautiful piece of propaganda, and I'll probably have my children watch it. But we have so many mentally ill people in the live chat. But it was called The Wonder Years, and The Wonder Years was a phenomenal show because it was a beautiful piece of American propaganda, and it called back to a beautiful time in America which maybe didn't ever exist. Some of the things were true, most of them were exaggerated, but it was beautiful, and it gave you that warm, fuzzy feeling, and it made you think that America was a place without a dark history. And so absolutely, I kind of grew up on that show at some level, and you hear the intro song and it would just make you feel the feeling of family, make you feel really warm. I say all that to say this. You actually watch the show, and I just watched an episode yesterday. It was very nostalgic. And you hear about the things going on contextually because it was a period piece. It was kind of about like the late 1960s, 1970s was the time period that it was covering. And in the intro, it speaks to things that are occurring. And at that time, the Vietnam War was occurring and people were against it, which is something that's always happening in America. There's always a war and people are always against it, but the government's always for it. Yes? So at that time, it was the Vietnam War. Everyone's against it, but the government's still doing it, which lets you know that democracy is fake. It's not real. We're not in a majority rule system. Okay? Then after the Vietnam War, there were so many other wars, but the one that you guys might be more familiar with was the Iraq War, that everyone was against, but the government was for it, so it kept going. Another reminder, democracy is a lie. It's a piece of propaganda. It's not real, folks. And you'll see consistently that Donald Trump and his Neanderthal cronies, they'll say, oh, he violated he declared a war on Iran without consent from Congress, and that's illegal. But he got funding, he got the military involved, he's doing everything and he's not being stopped at any level, but that's illegal. But then if we want healthcare, now mind you, I don't believe in socialized healthcare at all. I don't believe in it at all. But say we wanted healthcare, then all of a sudden the president can't just make things happen. We got to vote. It has to pass this chamber and pass the House and pass the Senate, and Congress has to ratify it, and this has to happen. All of a sudden, there's all these procedures. When we're doing something to benefit everyday people, there's so many procedures, and then it never happens. But if we're going to take the lives of human beings in a far off land, there's no procedures. Bro, just press the button and it's done. You see? You see what I'm saying? These devils there's something else. And if it doesn't bother you, if it doesn't scare you, you've lost your humanity. You're not a human anymore. Shout out to Ethan, comes in by Venmo, writes, tuition, thanks for all that you do. I appreciate you, Ethan. And I appreciate your support. May I also acknowledge Carter. He writes, peace of the saints. Get ready for the next round of attacks next weekend when the stock market closes, and for them to make up the market on Sunday. Excuse me, and for them to make up by market open on Sunday. Yeah, and the funny thing is when you hear news reported, as far as the devils are concerned, everything for them is about money. It's never about anything beyond money. I can respect the Iranians because sometimes it's about their God and it's about their beliefs. I can respect the Chinese. Sometimes it's about nationhood and being the middle kingdom. But for the Neanderthals, it's always money. For the devils, it's just always money. There's nothing greater, except every now and then a little bit of racism, preferably of the anti-black variety. But other than that, back to the money. Good Lord. Shout out to Carter. He writes, can you show the painting behind you if you are able? I am able. I don't know if I can get it all in one shot. It is an extraordinarily large painting, and you might not even be able to perceive the size of it because my ceilings are so high and my walls are so big. But yeah, I'll show you the painting. See if I can unplug my camera. And this isn't obviously it's an original. It's a piece that is done in oil. Commissioned this piece, designed it myself. Let's see if I can back up more. Oh, let me put this on full screen. One sec, let me just set this down. And thank you to the folks who actually support the work. Let's see. Okay. Okay, there we go. So this piece is 10 feet long. Just to give you a sense of, you're probably having trouble getting the proportion, but yeah, it's 10 feet long, this one. And you may recognize some characters in it. For those of you who appreciate art, which is probably the minority. This depiction right here, this is a famous painting that's embedded in this one. Some of you may know which one that is. I'll let you guys who are sophisticated in the chat state what that is. Then this one right here is also a famous painting that is embedded. And the theme of this one, hell, I'll let you guys interpret it. It's art. But there's no electricity in there. I'll point that out to you all. There's no electricity whatsoever. And you have your boys playing chess, you have your girls engaging in ballet, and then you have the natural family. So there you go. Peace and happiness and simplicity. See, the devils have put us into a society that is so very unnatural, and everyone's competing in ways that are detrimental instead of ways that are positive. You know, and all of the things that we think are good are actually bad. You know, your cell phones, the electricity, and all this other crap. You know, you think that that's like civilization, but really it's the opposite of civilization. That's what you don't realize. Anyways, thank you for that question. It is really a beautiful piece. It took several months to complete, and we had to obviously put a custom frame on it, which was very expensive. And I've definitely had to put a pause on art acquisition because with my philanthropic contributions, I'm running very low on capital. So I had to no more art for now. There's a lot of humanitarian needs that the governments of the world are not able to support. And in some cases, the governments of the world, Israel, are actively working against people getting basic medical needs met, food. America forgets that currently the United States government, Donald Trump, is starving Cuba. And Barack Obama just did his opening of his presidential library. He doesn't mention any of this at all. He's quiet. That's how you know he's a part of the club. So yeah, they're starving Cuba. So there's just so many tragic things that go on in the world. I kid you not, it truly makes me want to cry. You know, I sometimes when I talk about this stuff, it literally makes me want to cry because it's so sad, man. There's entire hospitals, you know, premature babies in what they call the NICU. You know, they're being kept alive. Some of them have ultraviolet light on them to keep them warm. Other ones have IVs. Because you know they're not able to eat, like babies, and they're dying because America, the United States government, and the United States citizens by consent have caused the island of Cuba to be blockaded. There's no oil, which is to say there's no electricity there. It's very intermittent, and you cannot run incubators. You can't run a lot of medical devices that keep the elderly and premature babies alive. So it's really very sad. It's very sad. It's a very sad world, and you know, people make excuses about why we're in this situation. We're in this situation because good men have not fought. We're in this situation because we allow women to lead. We're in this situation because the devils have gotten out of control, and it's sad, and people want to point fingers. Oh, it's it's these people. No, it's not just them. It's not just them. It's not just them. But anyways, carrying on. Gentleman writes, Peace is saying, shouts to Assassin Atlanta for inviting me to their warrior workout today during my visit. Okay. It was an inspiring experience. I recommend anyone traveling through ATL to tap in with the Saints there. Absolutely. It's a good section, beautiful section. Shout out to Key, the executive there. Shout out to all the Saints in ATL. Those are guys that have so much personality in ATL, a lot of sauce. And tap in if you're a member. That's an important part. If you're a member, tap in. If you're not a member, live your life as an individual in this dangerous world. But if you're a member, you must tap in. It'll be to your great benefit. It'll increase your safety and it'll increase your joy as you're there. We welcome you to this thing of ours, peacetothesaints.com. And what he's not mentioning is that didn't cost him any money to meet up with the guys for a workout. That's what this thing is about. It's like real community in real life. It's not a money grab. It's a proper membership of a network that means something. May I acknowledge, Nova writes, I appreciate your work in East Africa, truly. Thank you. That really means a lot. And you know, I'm looking to get back over there soon. I have had some issues with the Ethiopian government. I don't have any connections with the Eritrean government. I really like to get over there, see what's going on. And with the Ethiopian government, it's really so hard to add value there because their government is corrupt. Not terribly, I said corrupt, I'm so sorry. Please forgive me, that was incorrect. They're not corrupt enough for me to say that. They're incompetent. That's what I meant. I meant to say incompetent. Please don't take them as corrupt. And I apologize because I know this can get back to them. But, and I'm more conscious of what I say because this stuff, you may think people aren't listening, but they're listening. They're using technology. They don't have to have an individual listening to the saint and the sinner. But anyways, the Ethiopian government is very incompetent. So it's hard to help because they have laws that are so destructive. I wanted to go there and teach some technology and teach business and teach some audio video stuff. And they wouldn't even let me get in the country with the equipment. They tried to basically charge me the cost of the equipment to bring it into the country when I'm teaching free courses and I'm funding English classes and meals. So funding an English class and a daily meal, they won't even let me bring equipment in to teach. So it's fairly disgusting, which is all good. Starting from scratch there. Shout out to Don, he writes, what are the steps to get an anti-Black American crime bill like the Asians? You would think there would already be one, being that they used to put your head into a noose and hang you from a tree for a long time. You'd think there'd already be one, but that should remind you that you are hated. You are uniquely the most hated. It's just the facts. And in as much as that's the case, that's why I made the Black Code. You only really, if you don't have the Black Code, get the Black Code. skool.com/marquett/classroom. But that's a great point. And shout out to my Asians. Cameron writes, at this point, you need to form your own kingdom or chieftaincy, whatever you want to call it. Appoint your chiefs. We need to separate from the devils. Well, that's why I have Burton Plantation. You can get an acre of land. The deposit is $3,000. The full payment, I think, is $30,000. Once we get 10 people, we have 3, so there's 7 more slots. Once we get 10 people paid up on their deposits, then I'm going to introduce you all to each other so you can make sure you like each other. If you don't like someone and you want out, I'll refund you your $3K. If the group decides, well, that guy we don't like or that family we don't like, then they're out. I'm going to refund them their $3K. And because we have 20 acres in common. So you're buying 1 acre to put your home on in whatever type of home you want. You can build one. You can bring on a modular home, a manufactured home, a mobile home, whatever the heck you want to do. But then we have 20 acres in common. Might have a football field. We'll, of course, have a running track. And it's space where we can farm, we can, have beautiful land in common. There's really nowhere else you get that opportunity. So I already have that underway. Shout out to 8682. He writes, how can I get you to try out GDEX Pro? Very powerful platform. Well, what is GDEX Pro? So generally with things like that, no one's going to go look it up. So you'd be wise to just say what it is in summary. Thanks. And also, I probably am assuming you're not a very serious person. And just to be honest with you, there are a lot of shortcuts, mental shortcuts that human beings use. So for example, say you were a multimillionaire and you said, hey, check this out or try this out. Then I would trust you. Not because that means you're a good person, but because it's less likely you're going to steal from me. It's more likely that you're competent. People tend to trust you. For example, I'll just give you a quick example. I always like to teach you guys some business game when I can. But the HVAC folks came because I was like, my air quality in my front home, it's one home, but it's kind of I have 2 kitchens, 2 living rooms, etc. So in my west wing, the air quality on the 3rd floor did not seem like it was good enough. And so I called up my HVAC folks and I said, hey, come take a look at this. And they came and said, oh, we can do this, and this, and this, and this, and we can make the air quality amazing. And I was like, okay, great, do it. And anyway, so as he was doing it, I was, chatting with him. I said, hey, tell your boss I'd like to build him some software because that's what I do. I run a software company. I want to build him some software, enterprise software. He was like, oh, well, the boss was saying he needs a new website. And I was like, well, I don't build website. I can build a website. We will build you a website just as a token of good faith, but I don't want any money. I want to build him some complex software that's going to be very helpful in his HVAC business, because I want to design the software so that it's useful to other HVAC businesses, and I'm going to sell it to them. So you're going to get something that's highly useful, very sophisticated, and tailor-made, and I'm going to do it for you for free because I want to sell it to other HVAC companies. I create enterprise software. So he was like, okay, yeah, I'll tell you. Excuse me, I'll tell him. I'll have him reach out to you. So anyways, he reaches out to his boss. The boss reaches out to me, and the boss says, hey, I do need a website. And I was like, this website is very basic stuff. I'll do it for you, but I want to build you something complex. Come by my house tomorrow. Let's go through everything about your business, from someone goes, however you get your leads, to how a cold lead becomes a warm lead, how you make that dollar, how you render customer service. Let's go through everything. And I want to find some breaks where you could make more money, where you could save more money. And then I want to build you some software. He's like, okay. I was like, all right. And by the way, as far as your website goes, we'll cook something up for you. You'll have it live by the end of the week. He was like, all right, cool. So anyways, he comes to my house. I show him the first version 1 of his website. He's like, oh, wow, that's way better than what we have. Great. Now let's talk some serious money. We go through all of his business stuff, everything about his business, whatever current tech he's using, where the breakdowns are. And I say, okay, I think you need this. Could you make more money doing this? Why doesn't your AI do this? Why are you using this chat bot? We go through the whole thing. Now, why did he trust me when I tell him I'm doing it for free? Because usually free is how people lie to make a sale. The reason he trusts that I'm doing it for free is because, one, they've been to the property several times. The property is it's really well done, and they're probably coming to the property, even the CEO of their company, and the CEO is thinking, oh, this guy has more money than I do. So what are the chances that this guy's gonna try to steal from me or cheat me or lie to me? If nothing else, I want to be friends with this guy. He has all the markers that indicate he's trustworthy and he doesn't need to steal. So I say that to say this. If at the bottom of this banner it says, send in $20 to get your question answered, and then you send in less than $20, it makes me think, and it may not be true, but it just makes me assume that you don't even have $20. And if you don't have $20, I would assume that you're struggling for money. And if you're struggling for money, that means you need money, or you want money fairly desperately, probably. And that causes me to trust you less and be more defensive about you. And so, of course, I wouldn't take your advice because I think it's a trick, or you're trying to steal some money from me, or you're just not knowledgeable, because if you were knowledgeable and intelligent, then you'd already have money. So you'd already have the $20 to make sure that your question is read, because it's important to you. Now, all of these things may be untrue. They may be completely off base, but this is how human beings make quick decisions, because we don't have time to go through someone's full background. You see, the woman who runs the HVAC company, he gave me his login credentials to go to his current hosting site to basically transfer his website onto my server so that I could push my dev version live. Why would you do that unless you're well, this guy's not going to steal from me? And the only reason they're comfortable doing that is because he's this dude's furniture is 200-year-old antique. The dude's furniture is so expensive, I don't think the guy's gonna risk his assets. If his furniture is over 200 years old, I don't think this guy's gonna try to finesse me. That's why. So as they say, money talks. Yes, money does talk, but taste, elegance, sophistication talk. And so I was just telling you guys that in the sense of be real with yourself. People message me every day and they'll say the most ridiculous things hey man, we should hop on a phone call. And I'm like, why? Why? You don't even have a profile photo. You don't have your legal name up. And even if you did have a profile photo and a legal name, you're still a stranger. And more importantly, you're a stranger without a following. It seems like you don't have any relevance. All I can assume is you're trying to come up off of me. So it's common sense. Well, what should be common. And again, that's why I teach courses, and I've always been a teacher. I'm actually a formally trained teacher. I'm the only one who actually has teaching credentials and has been paid to teach at all levels. at the elementary level, at the high school level, at the university level, at the postdoc level, and to governments. But anyways, I'm just basically saying, please, man, try to use common sense when you come at me, like not to the individual, but to everybody. Like, please, like you use reason, get Boss University just so that you can think like a boss instead of thinking like a peon. You know, make things easy when you want something. Make it easy for me to give you what you want. Every now and then I'll get these DMs and it'll say, hey, do you mind if I tell you about an offer? And I'm like, okay, so I just saw your DM, which is rare. I mostly don't see anyone's DM. But instead of saying that, you could have said, my offer is this, the price is this. And then I could have said, oh, yes or no. But instead, now we have to exchange more messages just for me to see what the offer is. And frankly, I don't care because I don't know what the offer is. So I'm not going to try to find out. So I'm just encouraging you guys, make your life easier. And again, for the ladies who are watching, don't be a fool. The first time you see a guy that you think is good looking, you think he's intelligent, you think he's financially stable, I don't care if he has a wife, go to him, present yourself, have kids, because the average man in the society, the average male in the society is utterly despicable. They might as well be drooling over themselves. They're brainless. Like, you have very limited options. It's sad. Honestly, it's very sad. Shout out to Jay supporting the work, came in via Cash App. I appreciate you. Like, I feel sorry for women today because the guys who are supposed to be leaders, which means you have to be superior to her, there's nothing to choose from. There's nothing to choose from. These guys are down so bad. Anyways, carrying on. May I acknowledge, shout out to the ballers. First baller alert. Mike writes, Peace of the Saints, mass cognitive deficit is an optimized governance mechanism. Maybe. It depends on the nature of the people ruling. And in this case, the people ruling are wicked, so perhaps. The elite weaponize, excuse me, I apologize. Epistemic ignorance via spectacular theater, ensuring the populace lacks the structural literacy to decode macro resource consolidation. Illusion dictates civilian perception. Cameron writes, appreciate you, big homie. I've been watching you since I was 19. That's a beautiful thing. Grew up on the ism. I have a wife and 2 sons now. Congratulations. May we all congratulate this gentleman. Love to see it. He writes, do you think the Saints should be looking to build in places like Ghana or Kenya through horticulture? Well, the challenge with Ghana for sure is that there is fraud in their real estate market. And you guys know I've been searching for land and also places where you can get freehold land and freehold real estate. And so with that being the case, Ghana, I personally know a guy from New York who went there to build a resort and he's been dealing with fraud. They even put him in jail at one point. True story. Kenya, I did look at some deals. Kenya may be an interesting opportunity. I'd have to do some research there. Obviously, I've been to Kenya when I was there. Admittedly, some time ago I was on holiday, private beaches, all the good stuff. I wasn't looking at any off-plan real estate opportunities. So Kenya may be an option. I did get pitched some opportunities in Kenya, but they were mostly like far out. And especially in Africa, you don't want to be far out. You do not want to be far out. Absolutely not. And for those of you who are saints and who are expanding your families, I do want to do an event. I'll probably do it early 2027, which is actually not that far away. I want to do it early 2027. We might call it a coronation day. And what we really want to do is recognize our women because the truth, especially with men like me, some of you may be different, but I am not going to try to match the woman in her contribution to the early rearing of the child, which is to say when the child is age 0 to like 1. It's a cute baby, bring the baby over here, let me hold the baby, let me slap its back. Oh, it's crying, here you go. Oh, it's peeing, here you go. Oh, it's yelling too much, here you go. Give me my 10 minutes a day. But because the woman is making that strong contribution on both of your behalf, and because the woman should have been pleasant during her pregnancy, should have endured a proper birth with integrity and strength. So for her, having a good pregnancy, being pleasant and productive during her pregnancy, and having a proper labor and being pleasant during the labor and postpartum, We want to recognize the women, and most importantly, that is actually now you're officially married, because that is something permanent linking you and that woman. So now if she's done all those things and she's behaved herself the whole way, we want to recognize those women in what we'll call Coronation Day. And so we want to recognize the women as they are now officially a wife, mother, and, you know, present the kid. Hey, look at my kid. Now, we don't want to present kids when they're just like fresh out of the woman, because they're probably sensitive, I trust, sensitive to light, sun, and all the rest of it. So when Coronation Day occurs, you know, everyone who's had a new birth up to that point, you know, present your kids. Hey, this is my kid. This is my wife. She did a great job. And we want to celebrate those women. And it's like more of a formal process. And the gift, I'm thinking, the gifts we would give would probably be like seeds, like literal seeds for like, you know, food-based plants, you know, vegetables, tomatoes, avocados, things that you can grow at home or on your land. And it'd be neat because, you know, if some trees last a long time, so maybe the tree can grow up with your kid, and you're like, hey, you know, we planted this tree when you were born that year. But, you know, nice gifts that the woman would like to celebrate her for actually doing something. The idea that we celebrate women every year on Valentine's Day for doing nothing, or celebrate mothers just because they're mother when they may have been unpleasant and incompetent, I think is silly. So anyways, that's that, and we'd love to see you if you're a member, especially if you're, you know, really within this, you know, the cadre of leaders and those saints who are confirmed. Those are the ones who'll be here, because, you know, we haven't had any events with children. That would be one. And so we want the saints who we know well and who are trusted. So we always encourage you all to make sure that you are well known to your section, that you're participating, you're making your name known. It's an important thing as a man. Anyways, back to this work.
Now, Israel and Lebanon have signed a trilateral framework agreement with the U.S. following days of direct talks, but the agreement faces a crucial test. Hezbollah has outrightly rejected the framework and has described it as the signing away of Lebanese sovereignty that if only benefits the state of Israel. Well,
That's correct. That's 100% of a fact. And not only is it Hezbollah, it's also the people of Lebanon. The devils often try to confuse us with language. They make it seem as though all of the Lebanese are cool with this, and it's just Hezbollah that has a problem. That's number one. And then number two, the other issue is that Hezbollah gets their members from the population of Lebanon, right? So that's the part that they're trying to disconnect for you. They're making it seem like Hezbollah is composed of like robots who are just created in a lab. They're not human beings. They're not citizens of Lebanon, right? They want to confuse you.
The Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and the Lebanese President Joseph Aoun have welcomed the framework, but Hezbollah has warned that the deal will thwart plans to resolve the broader conflict. Hezbollah's leader, Naim Qassem, has accused the government of surrendering Lebanese sovereignty and declaring the agreement to be null and void. The Qassem, in fact, accused the Lebanese authorities of committing a grave blunder and legitimizing the Israeli occupation for many years. He's warned.
That's correct, and the whole world agrees with this. 100%. And because the whole world agrees, this is why the Israeli American media is using all of their tools to silence. That's precisely why this video that we're watching only registers 7,000 views, could have many more. It only shows 10 likes, and we know that that's impossible. You see this like button right here? I'm gonna click it. Now it's at 11. But we know that's impossible. Carrying on.
That this may even lead to annexation. Now, Hezbollah supporters, in fact, took to the streets in Beirut to protest against the trilateral deal. Eyewitness videos showed hundreds.
Now, that's funny. It said Hezbollah supporters. Well, why are you calling them Hezbollah supporters? Why aren't you calling them Lebanese citizens? How do you know that they're Hezbollah supporters? Were they wearing uniforms? You see? And sometimes you think because the news organization or the newscaster is Indian or black or Arab, that they're not still a stooge of the American Israeli propaganda media. And you would be wrong. You'd absolutely be wrong.
Hundreds of Hezbollah supporters on motorbikes, chanting slogans and waving flags of Iran and Hezbollah.
That's what you call mass support. That's people on the street, and particularly during a sensitive time, because we know that they're at risk of being attacked. Anytime the Israelis are involved, you know things can get dark real quick. Oh, by the way, shout out to Reginald, one of the young boys. This is a backpack briefcase that I've had for probably 5 years. It's still in beautiful mint condition, you dig? The leather is so soft. My leather's so soft. Highly recommend it. You can get this at mdblabel.com. And all this goes to St. Key, who is the executive in Atlanta. So definitely support the young boy and get a fine piece of leather.
And Hezbollah's lawmaker Hassan Fadlallah has said that the deal seeks to undercut the US-Iran ceasefire. He's warned that Lebanese authorities will not be able to implement this agreement unless they go to a civil war. Hezbollah controls large.
And again, this is Israel meddling, but all of this is theater because, as I told you, Israel is going to continue pursuing the Greater Israel Project, which requires them to steal land from Syria, from Lebanon, from Palestine, from Jordan, from Egypt, from Saudi Arabia. They're required to steal land to complete the Greater Israel Project, and they are going to pursue it, right? So they have to find ways to continue war. War must be continuous. And it's ironic because there was a German fellow back in the day who said anytime you check for a war, you can always find a certain kind of character starting the war, which is ironic because it seems kind of true. But anyways, I say all that to say this. This basically was supposed to be a part of the MOU, right? The MOU between Iran and the United States was supposed to basically provide for a cessation, that doesn't even sound right, cessation of war in Lebanon, which means the Israelis would stop attacking and withdraw. Well, they've not stopped attacking and they've not withdrawn. And this is also true in Gaza. People forget about Palestine now. I mean, they're still attacking there. But the point is this. The Israelis don't want to be seen publicly to tear apart this agreement. And so what they're doing, instead of destroying the MOU and appearing to be the pariah that they are, what they instead do is create all these different smoke screens to make it seem like they're cooperating and participating while they're not. This is how the two-state solution fell apart. You see, the Israelis basically say, oh yeah, we're trying to be peaceful with the Palestinians, and all the while they're going through kicking people out of their homes and allowing settlers to move in. So what they're doing is talking nice, but acting bad, behaving, taking consequential action, which is essentially negative, detrimental to all except them. Come on, this is the world we're in. Pay attention. Gentleman says, is PayPal still a good one to send tuition? Yes, actually, and do forgive me. Let me catch up on those. Shout out to Ricardo. He writes, Peace of the Saints tuition. Came in by PayPal. May I also acknowledge Qasim. He writes, Peace of the Saints tuition for the upcoming live. I'll have to watch it later another time due to work. Well, I appreciate you. That's a real one. And that's the nature of good people. You see, he says, I know it's going to be good. I'm supporting it. I'm going to work. There's another person who, like, why aren't you on time? Hurry up and start. They're not a member. They've never supported. You see the difference between those who are good and those who are wicked. And if you guys would remind me, I want to do a session, and I hate to have to do this session, but I get a lot of people reach out on Rizdem.com, RIZZDEM.com/Marquette Devon. It's a place where you can ask me questions around the clock, and I answer with a voice memo. A lot of people sometimes will go there when they have personal questions and they want to ask in private. And so often I get the question of, hey, Marquette, my parents are basically exploiting me financially. What do I do? And these are good people. These are saintly men and women. And so often I have to tell them, you are important. You deserve a life. You are in your early 20s. You need to create your own foundation. Because the truth is, if I'm being honest with you, and this doesn't mean you're behind, but I want to let you guys know, most of what has created my foundation financially, network-wise, so financially, relationally, and otherwise, it's everything I did in my early 20s. It's everything I did in my early 20s to create that foundation. I might not have been rich in my early 20s, but God damn it, I planted all the seeds necessary to become rich in my mid to late 20s. You see what I'm saying? So you don't want to have that time taken away from you. You don't want to have those financial opportunities to have to forego them because your mom and dad keep borrowing money from you or put you in a position with bad credit. So I want to do a session, if you guys remind me, called Do Not Let Your Parents Abuse You, something like this. Because it's just rampant. It's rampant and it's just really inconsiderate. I don't think your parents owe you anything. I don't think your parents owe you a college fund. I didn't get one. I don't think your parents owe you a car. I don't think your parents owe you anything other than to get you to age 18 and then they can be done with you. That's all they owe you. So they don't owe you anything, but you also don't owe them anything. And I want to talk about that in detail. I want to talk about that in detail because there's a lot of misinformation. A lot of good people feel guilty and their parents are really screwing them over. Shout out to Daniel. He writes, Saint, what should I do if I want to stop being around the parents of my girlfriend? This is ironic. The parents of my girlfriend due to many reasons, but mostly they're evil. How should I go about removing them? Thank you. Well, that's actually quite simple. Just refuse. Refuse. And you don't have to be rude about it. And I think that there are different ways to do it depending on the nature of your relationship with your lady and the trajectory of that relationship. There's various ways to do it. But if you keep on basically saying, oh, I'm not interested in that. Oh, no, thank you. Oh, let's do something else. I don't really want to go to your parents' house. Oh, I think I'll skip that, holiday at your parents' house. I think she'll eventually get the point, and then you can have the conversation if it's needed. But yes, if you know people are not good people, you're basically putting yourself in harm's way. I recommend against it. There's a young lady I was dealing with some time ago, white chick. I knew she wasn't a good person. She's a feminist. Not an admitted feminist. She would have denied it if you would have asked her. But she had wanted to go hang out with her sister and her sister's fiance, both weirdos. And I went over there and I remember being basically done with the experience. Also, they had a golden retriever dog hair all over the place. I was like, I'm done with this. I was like, hey, you ready to go? She's like, no, let's stay longer. And then that's when I knew. I was like, yeah, we're done here. Because it's like, I showed up, but don't put me in a position to where I'm uncomfortable or I'm somewhere that I don't want to be. It's not that I was unwelcome. I just frankly didn't want to be there. We're not the same kind of person. And, that was enough for me. So do not put yourself in any position that you don't want to be in. Next person writes, this is Mohammed. He writes, peace of the saints. It's been a while, had to support. It's unfortunate that the Shia leadership is designed to bring along and inform the masses rather than do what is necessary. On a different note, where are the non-Shia Muslim Ummah? Thank you for your time and knowledge, Mr. Brent. Bro, I'm trying to tell you, man, where is that Ummah? It doesn't exist. It's sad. It's honestly sad. It's sad, man. It's so sad. Shout out to Michael supporting the work rights. Peace of the saints. May also acknowledge Daniel. And this is why the assassin is so highly organized. And you'll feel that when you come to our events. You can feel that the culture is very strong. We're very organized. We all have the same mindset. And most importantly, we love each other. Our guys love each other. And that's important. That's why I say, hey, come meet one another. It's not about you loving Marquette Devon Burton. I mean, you should, but that's not what it's about. It's about the community, love and do for each other, because we have to protect each other. And that's why no one's going to mess with us. Because if you mess with one of us, we're going to come for you. Yeah, we're going to come for you to the last man. And that's the problem with the Ummah, is it's fake. The Muslims don't even greet each other. You can see two Muslims walk by each other and they won't even acknowledge each other. And it's ironic because the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said if someone greets you, assalamu alaikum, you should greet them even more warmly. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So nice to see you, brother. But that's not the reality. They speak so well of the scripture that has been revealed. They speak so highly of how you should be in the hadith and following the sunnah, but none of them follow it. Shout out to Daniel. He writes, for transparency, I have a child with this girl and her parents are not good people and I do not want this to rub off on her. My daughter is 1 year old. Yeah. Do your best to keep the daughter from around her. And let me give everybody a gem. Do not procreate with women who have a bad family and the woman is still very much so into that family. There's some women who have a bad family and they're like, hey, I realize these people are bad. I don't even want to be around them. Cool, let's carry on. You can't judge her for the sins of her parents. But if she's like, hey, I have a bad family and they're my family, then you know that she's going to have your kid around those people and the influence will be there. John writes, support for the education and the beautiful background, looking angelic. I appreciate that. That really means a lot because, you know, when I commission pieces, I really commission aspirational pieces. I commission inspirational pieces as well. And also for you guys, when you come to Burton Plantation, I hope you all get to come at some point in your life. I really do. It's a great place to unplug and recharge. I try to have events regularly because I really want to share everything that I have. And that's the way community is supposed to work. We're supposed to share everything that we have. And that's why I say wealth through unity. We have wealth through unity. But anyways, you'll see there's actually one of the saints is in this painting. And I have a number of paintings all over the place. And the saints are in those paintings. And that's where you can see which guys are confirmed, you know, which guys are high ranking, which guys have been in this thing of ours for a long time. And hopefully, God willing, one day you guys will be in some of these paintings because the key is to immortalize you, immortalize our history as we're building this culture. And at some point, I expect all these paintings to be at different places in the world, different museums, maybe some of your homes. And that's the purpose. You know, we're doing this thoughtfully. Gwensley writes, you are at your absolute peak when you are breaking down geopolitical events. No script, no notes, just pulling from the brain. Best in the business of edutainment. I appreciate that. And I'm going to do a piece tomorrow. I haven't listed it yet, but I'm going to do a piece tomorrow on Nigeria. And I wrote a paper on Nigeria when I was 19, suggesting that Nigeria should take over some of the neighboring countries, the Anglophone countries. And suggesting that Nigeria would be a regional power. I predicted that when I was 19 years old. And you know, they're on their way. They're moving slower than I would like, but we're going to do a piece on Nigeria. It's really fascinating what's been going on there. So you should absolutely tune in. Even if you're just a business person, if you're a business guy saying, hey, you know, I want to be super rich, well, Nigeria will be a great place to do it. So do tune into that tomorrow. And thank you for the support. Alan writes, peace of saints. I have been waiting for your take on this. Oh, absolutely. I'm happy to hear that. And I'm just really thankful that I have the energy and the emotional wherewithal to engage this topic because admittedly, very few things make me want to cry, like sincerely cry. Sometimes I see an antique car. It's so gorgeous. Oh, it just makes me want to cry. But pretty much nothing else makes me want to cry. I'm not a sensitive person, but this stuff just, it sometimes makes me want to cry because it's so sad, man. If you actually knew, it's so sad. Like people are losing their lives. They're not getting a chance at life. It is very heartbreaking, the truth of what is happening. Just imagine, like the house you're sitting in right now, the apartment you're sitting in, wherever you are right now. Just imagine a bomb hitting it and maybe you die in there or maybe you don't die, but everything that is associated with your material life is gone. Not like just the valuable stuff that you care about, but you know, pictures, your computer, your files, your photo albums, your family heirlooms, and your sister's dead too. You know, like it's really sad. It's sad, man. Shout out to Sean. He writes, peace of the saints for the good game. I appreciate you. Shout out to Sean. Had the pleasure of being on the last drip trip with Sean. Now it's Mr. Aldang. He writes, classes in session. I'm truly thankful. I truly thank you for everything. You're very welcome. And I thank those of you who really tune into these high-level discussions. Shout out to Wayne, writes, peace of saints, tuition. I also acknowledge Jay. He writes, hi, Marquette, it's my first ever super chat. Well, I appreciate you. And we always acknowledge people doing something new because to be able to do something new, that makes a good businessman. That's an innovator. You're willing to take risks. He writes, I've been listening to you for some time now, and I support the work. Thank you for the ism and helping out on the planet. But I do want to ask, what do you think of gorgeous ideology as far as society? Now let me go ahead and Google that. I'm not familiar with that. At least I don't think I am. Let's see. I'm gonna share this tab with everyone so we can take a look at this together. All right, here we are. Geo-Georgism, often referred to interchangeably as Georgism, okay, or Geoism, is an economic philosophy stating that while individuals should own the wealth they create, I like that, the economic rent derived from land and natural resources belongs equally to all members of society. It centers on the implementation of a land value tax. Nah, I don't sign off on that. Equality is a false thing. So when you say it belongs equally to everyone, I would hope that doesn't mean that it's going to be distributed equally, because some people are not efficient or intelligent allocators of capital. Like, for example, I'm great at allocating capital, so I should have the capital to allocate, which is why paying taxes is just a horrible thing, because I'm giving my money to someone who doesn't know what to do with money. Now, does that mean that if there's oil in the land, or there's lithium, or fill in the blank, natural gas, should that not benefit the people within the territory? It absolutely should. And I think that money should be utilized at some level for the common good. So you don't need to collect taxes. You can utilize the proceeds of the LNG, the oil, the lithium, and provide for the common good. So I think that makes more sense. But even before I had have people pay taxes, I would much rather just write out a distribution check to everyone equally. That's how much I despise handing over money to government, because government is so dishonest, incompetent, filled with wicked people and people who are terrible at allocating capital. And the examples are everywhere. The idea that the government goes over budget. First off, you don't earn money. So you're getting free money and you still don't have enough of it? That's crazy. Oh, and don't forget to mention the fact that you print money as well. And also don't forget to mention that not only do you collect taxes, which is extortion and theft, you collect taxes 3 times, right? Sales tax, income tax, property tax, insanity. You're triple taxing. Not only do you steal from the citizenry, you also sell government bonds. So you're selling things that really are not sellable and collect more money. These are criminals and thieves. Government is just mafia. And I'm somebody who really, as a youngster, instinctively, because I love order, I thought, you know what, government could be a great force for good, but when you're in the hells of North America, it does not seem that way. Anyways, and shout out to this gentleman for sharing some new knowledge and new perspective and a new term with us. And this is precisely what I mentioned earlier, that our intellectual, political environment, philosophical environment is fairly empty. And so this is a great opportunity for people to be blessed with a new perspective. Thank you for that. It is not often enough. And I'm always willing to learn. And you cannot learn if you think you know everything. We have to be humble enough to say, I don't know. Let me check this out. Let me read up on it. Let me research it. We don't need to lie and pretend as though that we are a polymath that knows everything. Most people are overestimating themselves. I call it lying. Anyways, carrying on.
Large areas in Lebanon's south and has a massive political hold. Earlier, the Israeli and the Lebanese envoys had signed the agreement at the State Department in Washington, D.C., and the U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio had announced the deal, saying that it establishes a clear process to restore Lebanon's sovereignty, disarm Hezbollah, and to dismantle its infrastructure.
What you'll notice consistently with the Western propaganda is that certain questions are never asked. And me, as an intellectual, as an honest person of values, I'm always willing to ask the question that the Westerners make it seem like you shouldn't ask. Like, for example, we should ask, well, Hezbollah, where'd they come from? How were they created? Are they really bad? Can we do a deal with them? Do we need to exclude them? Do we have to take their lives? Can we do a deal? Maybe they exist for a reason. For example, tomorrow I'll be talking about Nigeria. There's an organization called Boko Haram. Boko Haram is a designated terrorist organization. But I still think it's worth asking, well, how did they become a terrorist organization? Who is their enemy? Why is there enmity? And can a deal be done with them? Do you have to eradicate them? because it seems as though when the West is identifying these entities as terrorist organizations, it's so that they can take their lives with impunity. And that's really the instinct of the devil, is everything has to be solved through murder. So, crazy world, right? May I acknowledge? Shout out to We Just Met God, supporting the work. I appreciate you. William writes, hello, sir. What's your opinion on Dan Bilzerian? I think Dan Bilzerian is one of those guys where you're like, damn, like, ideally our hero is not you, but if you're going to take the risk, go off, King. Go off, King. It's one of those things. Kind of like when black people had to get behind George Floyd. I'm only imagining that black folks were like, damn, I wish it was somebody who was a little bit more squeaky clean, but we'll sign up for it. And the funny thing with black folks is that if you are squeaky clean, it's like they don't want to support you. It's kind of weird. It's like really weird. It's like if you're going to do what you said you're going to do, it's like they don't want to mess with you. It's so weird. Like, for example, Dr. Umar raised a minimum of $4 million. No school in sight. You can't even find him teaching a single online course. Meanwhile, you have me. I've run businesses all around the world, offices in South Korea, deals in China, deals in Latin America, offices throughout the United States. And our fundraise for the training center is going slowly, such that I'm like, every day I'm like, I just want to refund people. I want to refund people and continue with my life, because I don't need the training center. I'm doing it out of a sincere wish that your children will get the best opportunity at life. A sincere wish that your children all get to rise to their full potential, that you, lady watching, that you're a better mother than my mother was, you're a better father than my father was. And there are pieces of education that support that. For example, my mother did not breastfeed. You lose IQ points when you don't breastfeed. Breastfeeding is critical for brain development. We need to train our girls, our women, that you must breastfeed. It matters for the IQ. Now, thank God, I did all right. But there's so many pieces of education that are critical. Like, for example, girls go through all of their education, 0 to 18. They haven't had to hold a baby. They haven't learned anything about infants. They don't know the sleep schedule of an infant. They don't know what their realistic expectations are as a mother. So one thing I find peculiar is the idea that, say you have a newborn baby and the mom thinks that you need to be like involved or you need to give her a break. It's like, break? You wanted to be a mom. You didn't know what that was? And that's the problem. A lot of women don't know what it is to be a mom. They don't know that a newborn is basically sleeping 12 hours in 24 hours, but it's not a straight 12 hours. You got to wake up every 2 hours and feed the baby. That means you are not sleeping 8 hours straight. You're waking up every 2 hours, and that's your life as a mom of a newborn baby. But you should have knew that. And you should know that before you get pregnant. The training center is supposed to teach all those things, supposed to teach proper nutrition, how to handle a baby for the man and the woman. And there's so many simple things that are not known because they're not taught. When you're changing the baby, do you lift the legs up straight or do you flip them sideways? These are all things that are critical. And frankly, women brag about, having high-powered jobs, and then they pop a baby out, and now they got to go on YouTube just to figure out how to keep the baby alive. And to me, that's pathetic. Like, I don't care where you went to college. I care that you can create a strong child. You hear me? And I don't want you asking me for help because I ain't helping. And I don't want you asking me what to do because I don't know. You hear me? Like, come on, knock it off. Let's be real here. Carrying on.
Today is a good day in that we're happy to announce a framework agreement between the sovereign government of Lebanon and
Bro called it the sovereign government, knowing damn well this is a deal to rob them of sovereignty. So he's trying to use language. He's trying to speak this into existence. These boys pulling some real tomfoolery here.
And of course, the government of Israel, with a mediation and support of the United States of America, that begins to put in place a framework for lasting peace and security.
Now, this is a scam because it's like, well, if you got together with Iran to do an MOU and Lebanon was a part of the deal, a cessation of Israel attacking, And Israel kind of is the one that starts all these wars, you'll observe. Well, why is this a separate deal occurring after the MOU was finalized? Why was this not a part of the MOU? Kind of sus now, isn't it? Yeah, I think that's problematic.
According to the trilateral framework, the Lebanese army will return to two pilot areas in southern Lebanon, one north and one south of the Litani River.
Oh, does Lebanon have an army? Do they? Were they defending against Israel? Huh.
But Israel will keep a 10-meter security buffer inside southern Lebanon for now.
Wait, Israel's keeping land inside of Lebanon. Okay, well, that would mean that you seized land. So Israel's just annexed some land, in other words. They're on land that was not previously theirs. Got it.
The deal also provides for the disarmament of non-state armed groups, a reference to Hezbollah. However, the deal has been described as performance-based, suggesting that it is a roadmap and not actually a full peace treaty. Now, shortly after...
Listen, folks, we have so much work to do, and some of you are on the fence right now. That's fine. That's fine. Just know that there will come a point where we don't want you. You hear me? There'll come a point where you can't join. And there'll also come a point where you wish you joined earlier. Like, for example, my dining room, there's a beautiful piece that I commissioned. It has the first 12 confirmed guys, the first 12 saints that were confirmed. And then obviously this piece right here has one of the saints in it, and various pieces throughout the home do. There'll come a time where you won't be able to get into a piece because the pieces have all been commissioned, the walls have all been filled. You're smart to join things early when you have the opportunity. You're smart to get in and be one of the founders of something, as opposed to coming late. Shout out to Mr. Johnson, comes in via PayPal. Right, Saint, may I ask what earbuds you are using and if you'd recommend them instead of over-ear branded alternatives, ideally for weightlifting, remote work / flights. These I actually do not recommend. They were a gift. Shout out to the young lady who gifted these to me. I really appreciate it. They were a gift, but I sweat an awful lot, and when I start exercising rigorously, they come out of the ear quite easily. So what I would like to do is get some over the ear, but not the ones you're talking about. You're talking about the big earmuff ones. Those are not good for working out. I'm talking about some of the ones designed around athletics, and they kind of have like a piece that goes around your ear. So as soon as I get a chance, I get the mind for it. I actually consider myself thrifty. So once I convince myself, I'm gonna get those. And I'd be happy to share that if you'd ask me again once I do so. Shout out to Miles, came in supporting the work. He writes, thank you, Mr. Burton, Peace of the Saints, for all that you do. YouTube, along with other social media, is filled with so many lies and propaganda that if you aren't live, Mr. Burton, I shut it off. I truly feel bad for the average person. They are truly lost in every regard within our society. You are correct. And the number of lies is insane. Listen, you guys think that ChatGPT and Gemini are telling the truth. These things are lying to you. They're lying. They're lying, they're biased. It's utterly ridiculous, some of the answers that they give. For example, if you wanted to get to the bottom of something, like for example, the group that is called Boko Haram in Nigeria, formed in the northern Borno state. And the inception of this group at its start, of course, it's from a Muslim part of Nigeria, and one Muhammad, of course, they're all named Muhammad. When he started, he was just basically saying, we don't need Western influence, which is fair because you're Nigeria, you're not the West. We don't need Western influence. And he was teaching, giving Islamic teachings, and he was also supporting with some of the basic services that the state was, or the government, I should say, was not providing. There came a moment where there was a conflict between the security forces of the government and the group that is now known as Boko Haram. Now remember, up to that point, there was no major issue. Then all of a sudden, I think it was like 800 folks, members of Boko Haram, were killed by the government. And the leader, the Muhammad fellow, was captured, and then he ends up dead in police custody. So he didn't get a trial, right? And they try to use euphemism and report it as extrajudicial killing, meaning murder. And then from there, I want to say that was circa, I don't want to mess it up, but from there, his deputy takes the organization underground. And then when they reemerge the following year, now they're radical. Now they're radical. They're bombing, they're kidnapping, they're lit. And you're like, wow, these are some evil people. Well, it's like, well, don't forget to factor in the fact that you killed a bunch of them and you murdered their leader. So who's really the bad guy? And remember, I'm not a Nigerian Muslim. I'm just trying to cut it down the middle. But if you keep on Googling and researching, or excuse me, if you use the Chat GPT and Gemini and you ask them, they'll tell you something like the historical consensus is that there were many disagreements and skirmishes, and then the security forces responded and killed some of them, and there was an extrajudicial killing, but Boko Haram's the bad guy. And you're like, but you're saying that there was disagreement with the government, but you're not saying what was happening. And you can dig and dig and dig, and the AI won't tell you. The AI will tell you consistently that this is a terrorist group because they're bad guys, but they won't explain like why the government felt the need to go in and kill like so many of them and then kill their leader, and why that doesn't make the government the terrorist. Why is the Nigerian government not the terrorist? That's not, listen, if you go into any community, kill a bunch of people, kidnap the chief, kill him, you are the terrorist in my book, right? And when they reply, they're retaliating. They're not the aggressor, they're retaliating. Now, does this mean that I support them? Hell nah. Hell nah, them boys is wilding. They kidnapping schoolgirls in the whole nine. That's evil. But the question is, what unleashed that evil? And that's why me, as someone who wants to bring you honest history, I dig through and I read the books, I read the resources, I make the phone calls, I talk to the scholars, I talk to the people who lived during it. You got to talk to Nigerians who are like a lot older than me. And that's the problem, is that if you try to figure this stuff out just using Chat GPT, you're going to be lied to.
After the agreement, Netanyahu said in a video statement that Israel will remain in the security zone in southern Lebanon as long as Hezbollah has not been disarmed. The Lebanese government has repeatedly demanded for the withdrawal of Israeli troops from southern Lebanon, but Israel insists that it has no intention of withdrawing unless Hezbollah is fully disarmed.
Now, that's actually a violation of sovereignty, full stop. That's an act of war, full stop, and that's Israel continuing to bully. And that's the international community, the UN and the ICC and the Security Council and all of these international bodies, which are all fraudulent, doing nothing. Doing nothing. Yes, it's sick and sad. Sick and sad, ladies and gentlemen. Gentleman writes, we need a king. Egalitarianism is demonic. Yeah, it's a lie, because nothing's ever equal. And you really, and when we're talking about forms of government, we're talking about leadership. Westerners are so deceptive that they try to act as though democracy is egalitarian. Is it? Why do we have the top 1%? Why do we have the richest man on earth anywhere is in our democracy? Come on, this is not egalitarian. It's not, there's no equality. That's a lie. Trump pardoned a bunch of people who were rich criminals. Let's be real. You need a magnanimous king. You need someone who is not selfless, but someone who is honest and someone who actually cares about the people. And then that's when you get good outcomes. It's that simple. You need someone who is honest and cares. They don't have to be a saint. Ideally, they should be a saint. But they just have to actually care about the people. And frankly, that's hard to find because people who do care don't want to go into government. They have good lives, they have happy lives, they contribute, they don't need people admiring them. Nova writes, I can't exercise with earphones anymore. Life is getting too dangerous. I just had my car broken into. Bruh, I hear you. And that's the whole idea behind Burton Plantation. Unplug and recharge. It's an oasis. You know, it's away from the sickness of people, but it's still close enough, right? You can get to Savannah Airport within an hour. You know, I was just a few days ago flying out of a local private airport, which is probably like 18 minutes away. So, you know, it's close enough, but also far enough that you can be around people that you trust and respect. Like, for example, my Amazon lady, I know her by name. Shout out to Truth. I shouldn't say by name. I know her by face. I want to be accurate. I know her by face. You know, we're familiar, in other words, because it's always the same person. Shout out to Truth. He writes, I honestly think just about every platform on the internet has filters to block information from us besides this. Oh yeah, no, 100%. That's a fact. Every single one. And they're not only blocking information, they're blocking some of the people who they have deemed as dangerous because they're influential, because they're powerful orators, because they're truth tellers, because they're not scared. There's no doubt that I'm limited on Twitter. I have had 15.8 followers on Twitter forever. It's almost impossible. And that's ironic because I've gone viral on Twitter like 30 times. 30 times gone viral, but my subscriber count will not move. Okay, so this was a video that was basically shadow banned by Google, the YouTube corporation.
Of the United States of America that begins to put in place a framework for lasting peace and security. And that's what these two nations deserve. The people of Lebanon have suffered tremendously now for decades as a result of outside interference in their affairs, of countries trying to use the country.
I hate this guy, Marco Rubio. He says the people of Lebanon have suffered from outside interference, meaning other countries. Okay. But you're literally sitting there with one of the countries that's doing it, which is called Israel. And as you speak, Israel is a foreign country on the soil of Lebanon. It's like, bruh, you can't make this stuff up, man. And that's correct. International law is fake, 100%.
Country is a launch pad for attacks, and this is not what the people of Lebanon want, and that's not what they deserve. What they deserve to have is what they once had, and of which there is recent history of, and that is a prosperous and peaceful country, a diverse.
Yeah, they're not going to have that under Israel. Israel's goal is to, I can't even say. Shout out to Saul supporting the work using the Stripe link in the description of the video. I appreciate you. May I also acknowledge via Stripe, shout out to Gary and Wilson supporting. May I also acknowledge Vanessa. Shout out to Vanessa. She just got the black code, which you can get on skool.com/marquett/classroom. And for those who have it, you can see one of the folks on School wrote a great review of it. He absolutely loves it. I really want to hear what you think and what was striking to you and what kind of changed your thinking on some things, because there's some heavy stuff in there. Shout out to Mr. Chapman. Comes in by PayPal. He writes, I appreciate your seriousness, Saint. I spoke of your life works today while fundraising for the training center. A woman I was speaking to was surprised that you're still alive because you've done so much already. Sass or nothing. I appreciate that. Oh yeah, and shout out to the Saints in New England. Shout out to Mr. Chapman and his leadership. Shout out to Elijah. I saw him there. The two gentlemen were looking phenomenal. I posted their story on my IG. Just beautiful, good-looking brothers in some great suits representing us well on the ground where it matters. And we appreciate you fundraising for the training center. And I can't wait to open it up because there's just going to be so much beauty in there. As you guys know, I taught elementary school children. I also taught high school children. I taught university children. I taught adults in the professional environment at Fortune 100 companies and international government audiences as well. I've taught everyone. But there's nothing more beautiful than teaching mothers, fathers, and children, because you know that you are creating the future. And we have such good, meaningful, positive information to share. And for me to know that you can teach young people the right way at the beginning, and it makes their life so easy. It's just it's very exciting. So I thank Mr. Chapman for taking out the time to help spread the word on what we do here at the Sasson, and to help fundraise for that training center. And the neat thing about the way we fundraise is it only goes into that GoFundMe, so you can see down to the penny how much money has been raised, so that when it's finally allocated, it can be accounted for.
Diverse country where people of different backgrounds were able to live and coexist side by side, and in many ways was the envy of the region and of the world. And it will take a lot of work and some time to get back to that point. But we believe today is the first step in that journey. And the first step is sometimes the hardest step. but it's the one we're taking together today. Obviously, the people of Israel deserve to live in peace and security. The people of northern Israel in particular, who have been targeted repeatedly by terrorist attacks launched from...
Come on, bro. Like, come on, man. Like, does nobody want to hear all that victimhood? You cannot punch someone in the face and then get mad if they turn around and flinch at you. That's how these guys behave. Shout out to Albathar supporting the work. May I also acknowledge, and Quad, I see your email right here. I'm going to set that one aside, make sure that we take care of that for you. Let me set this aside for the folks to look into that, get that fixed up. Thank you for that note and the attachments as well. Carrying on.
The territory of Lebanon, but not by the Lebanese people, not by the Lebanese government, but by an outside actor who has sought to use that territory to target innocent civilians who have been unable to live in these places for a long time. Every time a siren goes off, you have to stop your schoolwork, you have to wake up, you have to stop going to work, and you have to run into all the different, we and his team and the department, we're professional here at this department.
Marco Rubio has no integrity. He said all of the negative things you could imagine about Donald Trump, then he starts working for him. It just tells you everything that you need to know. Like, one thing you'll notice, for example, is you can see the level of phoniness with some folks. You saw Fresh and Fit, they talk all this masculinity, and then they host a guy who is openly gay. It's like, come on, bro. And I'm not talking about Nerd Fuentes. He's not openly gay. I'm talking about the guy with the colored hair. Shout out to Truth. He writes, by the way, I like the painting. Thank you for showing it earlier. You're welcome. And I appreciate that compliment. It really means a lot to me. And, shout out to the painter. This guy has the worst attitude. I kid you not. This guy, my painter, has the worst attitude on earth. Like, no one in this household likes this guy. But bro got skills. He can really get the work done. And that's why I always encourage you guys to develop real skills. We have to work with the guy because he's good. Has a terrible attitude though. So that's skills pay the bills, in other words. You dig. Shout out to Akil, writes, thank you for the work you do. I appreciate you. You are welcome, and I thank you for the support. You all are the reason I can do the work, because you know that I get demonetized, I get shadow banned. Shout out to Mr. Johnson, writes, apologies, my original contribution was only 11. Here's the other half of my question. Saint, may I ask what earbud? Okay, very good. I got that one. And thank you for supporting. We appreciate you. I also acknowledge Mr. Williams. Writes, peace to the Saints. I took your advice about not going after low-value women. I've been putting it into practice, but when I approach women, my conversation starts to get a little shaky. Do you have any pointers? Thanks for the game. Well, number one, you'd be truly blessed to be able to contextualize it. But I don't think this is Cam that was at the Big Game Conference. And for those of you who were at the Big Game Conference, if you're not able to access the slides or anything, let me know. I'll make sure that I get them to you. But in the Big Game Conference, we give very specific examples of openers and how to be prepared to engage. Because as we say within this thing of ours, you have to be able to anticipate to dominate, which is to say you should be prepared and you should know which environment you're going into and have something ready to go. But I'll give you the simplest one, because it's not about what you say all the time. It's about how you say it. So if you say, how are you? You pause, you give a few beats for them to actually answer. You don't talk over them. You say it with confidence. Or you encounter the young lady, you say, Marquette Devon Burton. She shakes your hand, says, oh, that's a bit long name. And then you let it flow from there, smooth and easy. It's not what you say, it's about the level of confidence and charisma at which you present yourself. You don't introduce yourself, you present yourself. And she can take it or leave it. You see, the problem is so many men, they come in as beggars because they don't have a legitimate offer, and also they're perverts. If you're not a pervert, meaning you're not controlled by your nether regions, a woman can feel that. A woman can feel if you're not a pervert. Like, when I engage a woman, she feels like I'm trying to qualify her. I don't ever show up and she's like, oh, this guy wants to sleep with me. I can tell he's super attracted to me. No. What it feels like is I'm talking to you. There's some charm, there's some fun and some humor, but you can feel that I'm trying to assess if you're good enough for me. Yeah, I'm trying to assess if you're worth my time. You hear me? It's a big difference.
Department in bringing this about. As I said, today is the first step. This first great peace is beneficial to the
Marco, let somebody else talk. Marco, damn.
Ambassador Isa and the U.S. government team for hosting and facilitating these historic talks in Washington, D.C.
Lebanon is having a woman represent them. Okay, well, I always tell you guys, sign of a declining empire, women are leading. Who wants to put out weakness? Women are leading. That's an L. Shout out to Porsche supporting the work. I appreciate you. Again, shout out to all the saints that I've had the pleasure of meeting. Shout out to Mr. McNear. He writes, tuition, peace of the saints. And this brother is doing so well. I'm very proud of him. He is doing God's work. Shout out to Mr. Rooks. He writes, I don't know any more deserving of a Nobel Peace Prize other than you, Mr. Burton. You are appreciated and at the same time underappreciated in this era. I appreciate you. And a lot of things I do I can't talk about because the American government will really have me fried up and tied up. But you know, the funny thing is that, and this is a part of maturing, maturity is realizing that the Nobel Peace Prize is a scam. It's a scam. And what I realize is that at some level, they use these awards to legitimize certain individuals. So much of what we see is truly, it's scary. For example, do you know the current president of Syria? That dude used to be on a terrorist list. True story. Yeah. That dude used to be on some like cut your head off level ISIS behavior. Yeah, true story. Look it up. ISIS. What does that stand for? Islamic State of, anything to do with Syria, Iraq? I don't know. Look it up. The current president is a former terrorist, and now America's acting like it's all good. But the reason is because the American government is a terrorist organization. And a lot of the terrorist organizations you know of, like Al-Qaeda or people you've heard of, like the guy whose name rhymes with Obama, they were created, literally trained and funded by the United States government. So they're friends of the US and Israel. And people often say, well, if ISIS is such a radical Islamic group, why have they never attacked Israel? Shout out to Wayne. He writes, we'll be supporting the training center. I need to see this through. Absolutely. I appreciate you. It'll be a beautiful thing. And also, I want to shout out to, there are two people I happened to see had Darren. Shout out to Darren supporting the training center. And when the other person's name comes to mind, I want to acknowledge them as well. But shout out to Darren. I saw he supported the training center offline. I also acknowledge Melvin. He writes, peace of saints, I'm transitioning to a higher role within my industry. Congratulations to Melvin. Good brother. He writes, why do I feel crippling fear and impending doom? Well, that makes sense because you assume that it'll require more of you, and it will. But I tell you, here's the good news, Melvin. As I tell you, always go forward like a fearless lunatic. And the good news is that it's okay if you fail. You're not going to die. You just try again. Get a new job. Get another opportunity. You're a very young man. So all you can do at this point, Melvin, is do what I told you to do, which is go forward like a fearless lunatic and ask yourself every day, how can I enjoy this? How can I enjoy this? How can I make this a good experience for me and everyone involved? Shout out to Brandon, writes, tuition. And I promise you, sincerity and hard work, like having a good work ethic, that's always going to win. Shout out to Matthew, supporting the work, writes, peace of the saints. Shout out to Matthew. I'm always, certain people are always on my mind, wondering what you guys are up to, making sure that you guys are producing. Because some of you guys, I'm keeping an eye on you. I know you guys are going to crack $1 million. I know it. Shout out to Albatar, came again, supporting the work. I appreciate you. Yeah, and I was just hearing from him as well with regards to his business on Rizdom. A lot of people will reach out. They have a question they want, just a quick question. They'll reach out on rizdom.com/Marquette Devon, get a little fix up on their business, so they can try something new. Yep, and that's the link for the training center if you guys want to support that.
The trilateral framework we signed today is a first step on the road to restoring Lebanese sovereignty and territorial integrity.
Amazing.
Securing a permanent.
Amazing, the idea. So sovereignty means self-government, self-determination. That's what sovereignty is. And the idea that you're going to use outside countries, outside influences to help maintain self-government, it doesn't even make sense. It doesn't even sound sensible. But that is the level of trickery of the West.
Permanent and final cessation of hostilities enabling our people to go back to their land and allowing all Lebanese to live in peace, security, and prosperity.
This woman is a puppet. You have had many villages in southern Lebanon basically removed from the map by Israel, and she's sitting there with the people who are basically guilty, and she's pretending as though that they are the good guys and they're helping. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to tell you that so many things that you see are not real. These people are controlled. These people are being blackmailed. These people are all about the money. That's why you can have a situation where Nerd Fuentes says that we're being replaced. We don't have enough white people. But then he doesn't have any kids. He doesn't even have a wife. He doesn't even have a girlfriend. He's a virgin. But he's saying we're being replaced. Well, me personally, as the white nationalist leader, I say we need more white babies. So I encourage honest, reasonable, good men who are white to procreate with their counterpart. But you have these homosexuals like Nerd Fuentes, they're lying. And even Chud the Builder, he was exposed 2 separate times for dealing with Decepticons. Come on, man. Weird, right? Yeah, very weird. Or you have Fresh and Fit. They claim they're all about masculinity, but they platform people who are LGBTQ. And they say that they're friends with these LGBTQ persons. Something's not adding up. They say or you have an Andrew Tate who says, I support men. But you can see entire videos of him explaining how he has women finesse men for money, men who are desperate, men who are addicted to adult content. So some people are just out for the money. Some people are being blackmailed. Some people are being controlled. They're scared. But what is consistently true is that they're lying to you. That part you can take home. They're lying to you.
This was a long and difficult meeting. We are grateful to the hosts and to the 2 delegations for their cooperation during these talks. This milestone was made possible through the leadership of President Aoun, the tenacity of Prime Minister Salam, the resilience.
Yeah, it's really sad. And this is a repeat on Venezuela, ladies and saints. Venezuela, they took out a strong man, Maduro, who obviously he was preceded by an even stronger man, but they took out Maduro. And what was left? The female who stepped up, but now she's just a puppet. Oh, and while I'm at it, let's be real. I wouldn't be surprised if the earthquake that's devastating Venezuela is a man-made earthquake that was created by the United States. Oh, Marquette, you're a conspiracy theorist. Well, the United States can control the weather. Maybe they can control other things. Nuclear explosions can make you feel like there's an earthquake. Maybe they figured out how to create these kinds. Hey, they have awesome weapons. And I mean awesome in the sense that it inspires awe. They can cut your electronics remotely. Come on, man. These people are dangerous. These people are very dangerous. And these devils, what they've invested their intelligence and their capital into is death and destruction. So I would not at all be surprised at the awesome nature of their weaponry.
I also want to thank Her Excellency, Ambassador Hamadi, for being a very tough negotiator.
Stop it, bro.
Real peace, where both countries will live in security, where Israel's and Lebanon's sovereignty will be respected.
You cannot say that you respect another country's sovereignty while you're literally an occupying force. It's just, come on, man. Shout out to Albatar supporting the work for a 3rd time. Appreciate you. I mean, this stuff is utter madness. Utter madness.
Honored and protected. In this performance-based trilateral framework agreement, Iran is out, Hezbollah is out, and the road to peace between Israel and Lebanon is in.
Now, it's so funny where he says Iran is out. Iran has nothing to do with this deal. So the idea that you need to say something negative about this third party that theoretically is unrelated, and it's a third party that just made an MOU for a cessation of hostility, and you're saying something that's hostile, it shows the nature of these people. It shows the nature. Yeah, what can you do? Ladies and saints, I got some more stuff, but what I'll probably do is, God willing, maybe we can touch on this tomorrow. because it's getting a bit late here, and I do, there's someone that's going to call me first thing in the morning to get some counsel, so I want to be sharp for that. Also, I want to do that talk tomorrow on Nigeria, and I also have to go on African News Network separately, so quite busy tomorrow. But I do want to just show you what I want to talk through. We have Professor Mirandi, who is on the ground and gives really good insight. So I do want to review his perspective about the recent happenings, God willing, tomorrow, if you guys will remind me. Ladies and saints, I want to thank all of you for being here with me and enjoying what we can of a topic that is a bit dark, because after all, we are talking about warfare, and let us not be like the devils and almost forget that warfare means people are dying. Young people, people who have lives ahead of them are dying before their proper season. So as enjoyable as this could be here with good people, it has been such. And so I just want to thank you all for being here, for supporting me, and for engaging in the more meaningful topics. So let us end this with our tradition, the Creed of the Assassin. Repeat after me with full conviction, knowing this is true of you. The Creed of the Assassin. I am going to be who I truly am because I am remarkable, and I'm going to strive every moment to show the greatest part of who I am. Until next time, peace to the saints.